Micromanaging kills momentum. When you coach instead of control, your team steps up and your business grows. That is coming up next. Welcome to the Chris Lacurdo Show, where we discuss leadership and life and discover that business is what you do, not who you are. Welcome to the show, folks. I hope you're having a fabulous day wherever you are. Today, we're tackling a leadership mistake that stifles growth, and that is controlling instead of coaching. When leaders micromanage, they create a dependency, a frustration. But when they coach, they unlock ownership and performance. Now, as I say this, you may be thinking, well, I don't control. That's not what I do. And I get it. A lot of folks don't actually know that they're controlling in situations instead of coaching. Because in your mind, you think, well, I'm doing what my team needs. I'm doing the right thing. I need to get things done. And a lot of times what's happening is that you're jumping in where you should actually be coaching and guiding and directing. So as a coach, that is constantly my process. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's team members, if it's my leaders, if it's my children. It doesn't matter. My goal is always to coach. It's funny. We've got our youngest is 6 years old, and she has me for a daddy. So she gets coached a lot. She gets a lot of, hey, daddy, I need some help with this thing. And what she gets is, well, how could you do that? What are some thoughts? Process through. What does that look like? And it's interesting because her nephews and nieces and stuff that are actually almost exactly her same age, which is always fun. If they need something, if they're over and they need something, then she will have a tendency to jump up and try and solve it. Or her 3-year-old nephew, who is a very capable little boy, she'll want to solve something for him. And what I have taught her over time is, babe, don't solve it for him. Guide him. Teach him. It's the same thing that we do with you. As we coach you and guide you on how to do stuff, do the same thing with him. And then it just kind of snaps in place where she's like, Jackson, how could you do this? What's a way that you could make this happen? It is fantastic to see, but we've helped her. So one, she definitely has people-pleasing tendencies inside of her. She wants to solve things for other people. And so at first, when we're like, hey, coach him, it's almost like, well, you're taking away my ability to, gain worth from pleasing people. Obviously, at 7 years old, I said 6, she's actually 7 now. At 7 years old, she doesn't think that way. But she knows that if she doesn't get to help, she doesn't get that people-pleasing dopamine hit, right? But what she's learning is coaching gives her that same response. When she can help somebody, teach somebody, guide somebody, she feels this definite sense of worth because she helped somebody else grow. She helped somebody else learn. And so instead of it being all about her and her doing the solving, she's learning to serve others. And that's what we're talking about today. And this topic actually comes out of many interactions with businesses and leaders that have realized that they have led by, the fear of making mistakes. And I can tell you, I was there once myself. For me, I am somebody who believes that failure is one of your greatest teachers. All right. I always say failure is the best teacher for the person who's ready to learn or willing to learn, right? Or willing to allow it. Because when you make mistakes, as somebody, I'm a 88S, I hate regret. I can't stand regret. So failure teaches me. So instead of hiding from it, I actually, when I make mistakes, I ask myself, what could I have done? How could this have gone differently? What happened? Why did it happen? How did it happen? How can I fix it? And how do I make sure it never happens again? That's our 5-step process that we use at our office. And because I think this way, I have a tendency, it's funny, it may bother other people who like to fix something right now. There's a problem, solve it. And I'll step back and take time to think, and I'll process through. And what I tend to think is, how could this fail? What could go wrong here? And by doing so, it allows me to think through better processes. So instead of leading by fear of mistakes, our team understands we expect you to make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're not doing anything, right? So the key is, how do you not duplicate those mistakes? And how do you not make fatal errors, right? We don't want anything to be a fatal error. And we want you to think so that you can take calculated risks, but you're going to make mistakes. We expect it. So, when you do, learn from it, grow from it, figure out how to fix it. So here's what we're kind of diving into today: why controlling leaders kill team ownership. You've got to understand, you may not think of yourself as being a controlling leader. And I want you to, as we go through this process and afterwards, after you've listened to this, maybe listen to it a couple of times, I want you to just process through, am I controlling things? You're probably going to find that there are areas that you never even thought about. Another thing is how coaching builds capacity within your team and drives results. Also, the specific mindset shift that transformed one of our clients' growth as a leader, as well as practical steps you can take today to stop micromanaging. Now, as I say that, I have a caveat for so many things I say. A caveat for micromanaging. I expect my leaders to micromanage in the first 90 days. Why is that? Because I want to find out if a new team member is not going to make it. I want to know within those 90 days. I want to fix it, solve it, either get them better on board or get them out of the company. What I do not want is, I don't want to get past 90 days and a person doesn't know what to do or how to do it. So there's a level of micromanagement that happens in that first 90 days. Make sure that they are set up for success. Now, it is, when I say micromanaging for us, I'm not talking about what the world tends to do, which is, did you get that done yet? Did you get it done? Is it done yet? You haven't done that yet? Okay, let me take that back. That is crap. That is terrible micromanagement. What I'm talking about is being there, checking in, making sure that they're doing things correctly, making sure that you're answering questions. So the micromanaging we're talking about today in this episode is the one that the world does, right? Being all over somebody, controlling them instead of actually coaching and guiding and directing. So first thing we need to focus on is that control, listen to me on this, control builds dependence, not ownership. So here is the first place that leaders get stuck. They get stuck thinking that control equals leadership. Leadership equals control. And it doesn't. Keep in mind, what is the definition of leader? Getting people to a place that they wouldn't normally get to on their own. Leading, guiding, directing, taking somebody to a place that they wouldn't normally get there. They wouldn't naturally get there. That's your job. Your job as a leader is to make your team successful, not the other way around. So if you are properly leading, you are helping people get someplace. You're helping them get to something, some destination, some goal. If what you're doing instead is running everything through you, maybe you're making them run emails by you before they go out. Maybe you're making them run every project through you, every decision, every client interaction. Maybe all of that is coming through you. And maybe it's not that heavy duty, but maybe there's still levels of that. If you insist on reviewing so much stuff, then the waiting time for response, the waiting time for productivity, all of that changes. It becomes unnecessarily long, preventing your team from serving your clients well, from serving each other well. Because now everything has to go through you. But Chris, I feel safer by doing this. Okay, I get it. But what you're doing, and we're going to talk about how not to focus on that. What you're doing is you're training your team that they have to wait instead of lead. They have to wait on you. You become that bottleneck. You become that process that slows everything down instead of them learning, growing, and making decisions on their own. Controlling leaders unknowingly teach their team to avoid responsibility. Let that just kind of pound you hard on the top of the head. Controlling leaders unknowingly teach their team to avoid responsibility. That is the absolute last thing that I want. I want my team taking full responsibility. I want my team taking healthy risks. I want my team making decisions. I want my team thinking for themselves. So if you are controlling, if you are causing so much to go through you, then you're the bottleneck for your team and your team isn't growing. That is the first thing we have to recognize. The second thing is we have to understand that coaching unlocks responsibility. So let's look at kind of what happens when you make that shift to being a coach and coaching others, right? So instead of rewriting every proposal, instead of checking every email, instead of all of the level of control, we had one of our clients that started coaching and asking their team, instead of checking everything that they were doing, they started asking questions like, what would you do differently here? And I got to tell you this is something fantastic. This is an old trick. You could take something that somebody has created, and in your eyes, you could look at it, let's say it's a proposal, and it could be perfect. And you could ask the question, what would you do differently here? And ask it, and it's in this kind of tone that you see something that they don't see. How could you make this better? You know, how could you increase quality on this? And give them time to go figure it out, and they will come back with something you haven't even thought about. I've seen this happen multiple times where you just test it. You just throw it out there and see. Maybe you're like, the proposal looks fantastic to me. And then they come back with something that's even better. Where did that come from? It came from being challenged. It came from being coached. I believe you can do better. I believe you have more in you. I believe there's something that you're missing that you're going to find. I believe in you. It's not the kind of questioning of, man, this could be better. Why don't you fix it? Right? It's not that kind of stuff. Instead, it's the belief that somebody has more inside of them. When you coach, you're inviting people to think. You are inviting people to think for themselves. You're inviting them to make decisions. You're inviting them to own the outcomes. You're inviting them to use their brain, which is so incredibly important. It builds trust. It builds loyalty. It creates this phenomenal thing inside of a team member when they feel like they've been treated with dignity and that somebody believes in them. Think about yourself for a second. How nice is it for you to realize that people believe in you? How much more do you want to accomplish when you realize people believe in you? And I'm talking about legit belief, right? They know you have talent, gifts, that there's more that can come from you. I'm not just talking about somebody who's trying to, reverse psychology, get more out of you. I'm saying legitimately, when you believe in somebody and you believe they can do more, they can do better, then they step up. When you control, when you micromanage, they step back. That is not what you want. So coaching multiplies your team's capacity. Do you not want more out of your team? Well, yes. I'm not talking about making them work 20 hours a day. I can tell you, our team accomplishes a ton for the size of our team. We get a lot done. I have an incredibly high capacity team. And it's not because I'm cracking a whip on them. It's because they operate with excellence. It's because they operate understanding their capacity. It's because they take risks. It's because they take calculated risks. They make decisions on their own. They know what's expected of them. They communicate very highly, super high levels of quality communication. So if you want more out of your team and you want greater capacity, start coaching and training and guiding them and make them better. Or don't and keep them the way they are. The goal is to duplicate you. The goal is to make more high quality leaders, team members, people with ownership mindset. And you're never going to do that unless you start coaching your team up. Third thing you need to know, clarity creates growth. This is where everything clicked for so many of our clients. It's amazing to me. I've talked about our personality style videos and how that's a must for people to do inside of their teams and the disc profiles and all of that. I cannot tell you the number of people who thought they had good or great communication who, after implementing it, came back and said, oh my gosh, our communication was chaos and we didn't even know it. Clarity is massive. We've had folks, we had one client that was doing daily status huddles, and every day just a little huddle. And there's nothing wrong with that. We suggest it to some folks, do a 5-minute huddle, maybe it's a 10-minute huddle, depending upon what you're doing. But what we found is that one of our leaders, I say one, this has happened with many of our clients, but specifically one that started and went from the daily huddle to weekly one-on-ones, and just having that one-on-one time with each one of their team members. Now, they didn't have a massive team, but they could get these meetings in and started coaching and started focusing on developing the team members and developing the team members' decision-making processes. They saw an 18% month-over-month growth after switching from the command control style to coaching with clarity. 18%. 18%. That's just fun. That's just phenomenal. Chris, I don't have time to do all of this. Chris, I'm a busy leader. Chris, I hear you talk about this stuff, but whenever am I going to fit all that stuff in? I don't know. You want 18% growth? Make time. Guys, I run a teaching environment inside of my business. Why? So that they learn and grow, so that they know, so that they understand. I don't waste time hoping that they get it. I make sure that they get it. I've just led the leaders for many, many years. They lead the rest of the teams. So we're huge on this. Well, we're all busy. Great. Increase your capacity by teaching, training, coaching, guiding, and directing your team. If you help them to grow, they will have more capacity. Do you get it? By not coaching them, they stay where they are and you stay completely slammed. As you grow your team members, they grow in capacity. Not only do they grow in capacity, oh my gosh, is it great having a team that thinks for themselves, having a team that comes up with ideas, having a team, and not only that, but also a team, it's one of the great parts of it, is that there's not the ego. There's the ability to go, hey guys, push back on me on this, question me on this. I'm brand new at this thing, or I'm working on this new project. I'd love some insight. I'd love some input, right? Ask me any questions, whatever. They seek accountability. I have a team who seeks accountability. Why? Because they realize they're going to get strong leadership in the process. And it's not just answering their questions and telling them what to do. It's asking questions that helps them to think for themselves, that gets them to the answers that they need. It's powerful, folks. Clarity and coaching drive growth faster than control ever will. It's a fact. It is a fact. Fourth thing you need to know. Servant leadership is a system, not just a style. So this isn't just about being nicer. It isn't about leading better for your clients and your team. This is about understanding what your role is in leading other people to success, especially from the aspect of being a servant leader. We had a client at one of our mastermind retreats, a CEO of a business, large, pretty good sized business, that finally decided to delegate their client delivery. And literally sat down. It's so fun. It's so fun at our mastermind retreats of watching these business leaders and owners when the stuff that we're teaching just lands so hard and they realize, oh my gosh, I am not doing this. I have to do something about this. And so many times they will go back and implement big stuff, which is fun. It's amazing. It grows their team. It grows capacity. It's fantastic. But this one specifically sat down and documented and implemented a coaching process to literally train his replacement the entire way, which is what we teach: proper delegation and killing the leadership crazy cycle. That's one of the big things that we teach is proper delegation. Not only did it impact that person, but it impacted their culture. It impacted the CEO. It impacted many, many aspects, because now the CEO was able to, one, duplicate himself in this aspect, but also step up and do bigger, more important things that he needed to be focused on. It allowed him to start leading more and training more and guiding more. It allowed this person who was trained very well to take over the client delivery process and run it just as good, if not better. I bet that the CEO would probably say it's actually running better at this point, because he was wearing way too many hats. This is what you need to understand. Servant leadership means building systems that empower others to lead. It means setting them up for success. How do I make you better? How do I take a process? And believe it or not, I truly believe, I don't know, I haven't asked, but I truly believe the client delivery process was something that the CEO really enjoyed. But he understood that he couldn't be a CEO and be handling everything that he was handling. So sometimes it's tough to give up the thing that you love, right? I've had to do it my entire career. 30 plus years, I've been having to give up, recognizing if I hold on to that, I don't grow. If I hold on to that, I don't step up. If I hold on to that, I can't lead other people. So you have to understand that if you're going to serve people well, one of the most powerful ways to do so is to create the systems that help them to be better, that help them to grow, that help them to understand their entire role, what's expected of them, what winning looks like. But it demands clarity. It demands clarity. It demands consistency. And most of all, it definitely requires a courage that you have to release some of that control. I promise you guys, listen to me, business leaders and owners. So many of you have your identity and your purpose and your role, and you do not realize that there is more for you to do, more important stuff, higher level stuff, and you're holding on to tasks and things that you think are so important. When you properly delegate and set people up for success, what you will find is the available capacity you have is absolutely needed. You just need somebody like us to teach you what to do with it. That's why we teach what we teach, is we help people to recognize there is more, and it's funner stuff. I can promise you, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be doing heavy duty things and stuff that you don't absolutely love 100% of the time, but you will definitely love what you do a lot more, because it allows you to step up into a position that you do have the capacity for. Well, you will if you properly delegate, but you also have gifts and talents that you probably don't even recognize yet. So when you coach instead of control, you build leaders, not just followers. The shift it doesn't just feel better. It produces real, measurable growth. So please don't lead by fear. Lead with clarity and trust. Help others to be successful. Build the systems that get them there. Recognize that you're built for more. But you can't do the higher level stuff if you keep doing everything that's on your plate right now. So here's what I want you to do this week. First, I want you to audit where you're still micromanaging. Be honest with yourself. Sometimes it's tough. Chris Locurdo said that, and I'm not micromanaging anywhere. Well, you might find that if you talk to some folks, they might actually point out some areas that you are. The key is be honest with you and do a quality audit. Ask one direct report today. Where do you feel like I'm not trusting you enough? Just one. And make it somebody who's decently healthy. Don't ask a toxic team member, which hopefully you don't have any of those, but don't ask somebody who's going to become a colossal victim and tell you the 47 different ways. Ask somebody who you can trust, that is mature enough to answer the question, where do you feel like I'm not trusting you enough today? Third thing is clarify one area where you can coach instead of control. Just pick one and start there. You don't have to shift everything. Let's start practicing this, right? So let me be real. Control might feel like leadership, but it's a lid on your team's potential. So if you're tired of chasing every detail, answering every question, and carrying all the weight, it's time for a change. At the Next Level Leadership live event, we'll show you how to coach instead of control, how to build culture where your people take ownership, where they solve problems, where they make decisions, they take calculated risks, and they absolutely drive results. You don't need more hustle. You need better systems. You need real clarity, and you need a team that leads with you. Get your seat with our early bird discount rate at chrislocurdo.com/live events. That's chrislocurdo.com/live events, one word. Let's build a business that doesn't depend on you doing everything. Well, folks, that's all the time that we have for today. I hope this helps you immensely. Please implement this. Please start auditing the things that we talked about and start coaching. Get some coaching that helps you to be a great coach, because a great leader is a great coach. As always, take this information, change your leadership, change your business, change your life, and join us on the next episode.